All right, welcome back, everyone. So glad to have you here for our second deep dive.
Yeah.
And for those just joining us for the first time,
Welcome.
welcome. Glad to have you. Today we're diving into something, a story, really, that's gotten people talking, The Egg by Andy Weir.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you might know him from The Martian,
Of course.
which was this awesome kind of hard sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
But this one's a little different.
A little more philosophical.
It is definitely more philosophical. So
Yeah.
if you're ready to think deep, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. Buckle up. This one takes us on a journey. It explores some pretty fundamental concepts. Reincarnation, consciousness.
Yeah.
What does it even mean to be alive? You know, the meaning of life itself.
All the big questions.
Big stuff. And all packed into a short story.
I know, right? It's amazing how he does that. So to get into this, I think we should start by kind of just walking through what actually happens in the egg, right?
Yeah, ground ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, ground ourselves in this story. It's easy to get lost in the big ideas
Absolutely.
without really remembering what the story's actually about.
Yeah.
So, okay, the story starts with this guy, right? He's just died in a car accident, finds himself in this dark void, like totally confused.
Disoriented.
Yeah, disoriented. And then suddenly this being appears,
Sure.
radiating warmth and light, you know?
Very mystical.
Yeah, and this being is like, hey, I'm God.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, no messing around. And so they start talking.
They do, and this guy doesn't waste any time, right? They jump right in and explain that, well, this guy, he's about to be reborn into a new life, just like he has been countless times before.
Yeah, it's like death is just this, I don't know, like a pit stop.
A layover.
Yeah, like a layover before you're back in the race, but in a totally different car.
Exactly.
I like how Weir just presents reincarnation as this fact, you know?
It's just how things work.
Yeah, like it's not some mystical belief or anything. It's just like,
It's like gravity.
yeah, like a law of the universe.
Yeah, and the implications of that are huge, right? Like, if we've lived countless lives across time and space,
Whoa.
what does that do to our sense of self?
Right. Like, is there even a self if you're constantly changing, like, who you are?
Yeah, you're a Roman emperor one life, a peasant farmer the next. It's wild.
And then if every life is like a learning experience, you know, what happens to all that knowledge?
Right. Where does it all go?
Does it just disappear?
Well, the story suggests that, no, it's all still there within
Yeah.
us, even
Yeah.
if we don't consciously remember those past lives.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like buried deep down.
So that's where those, like, deja vu moments come from.
Maybe.
Or like when you suddenly know how to do something you've never learned before.
Could be, right? Like these little glimpses into our past selves are bubbling up.
Wow. Okay, so this story's already making me rethink who I am.
Tight.
But let's get back to it.
Yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
So the guy, he's obviously confused by all this, right? He's got a million questions for God.
Of course. I mean, who wouldn't?
Exactly. And the biggest one is like, what's the point? Like, why keep being reborn over and over?
The $1,000,000 question.
I know, right?
Luckily, this God's not shy about answering.
No, they lay it all out.
They do. They explain that the purpose of reincarnation, it's for the soul to grow, mature, and eventually become something more. Something closer to God, actually. It's like this
no.
cosmic boot camp for souls.
So every life is like a training exercise
You could say that.
to get us ready for some, I don't know, big finale.
Yeah, and it totally reframes how we think about life and death, right?
Yeah,
It's not just a straight line anymore. It's a cycle of growth and evolution.
that's a pretty amazing way to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's just the beginning of what the egg has to offer.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll dive even deeper.
Sounds good. And here's where Weir just throws this crazy curveball,
Yeah.
right? The God character, they reveal that the man, he's not just experiencing his own individual journey, like his own little reincarnation thing.
Right.
He's actually living every single human life
Right.
ever.
Hold on. I thought we were talking about personal growth. Like,
Yeah.
how can you have a personal journey if you're everyone?
That's the mind-blowing part, right? It just shatters this whole idea of individual souls.
So there's just one soul.
It's suggesting that, yeah, there's this one unified consciousness, and it's experiencing itself through every human life.
Okay, so like I'm connected to like everyone,
Yeah.
like every historical figure.
Everyone who's ever lived, everyone who's ever going to live.
Whoa, that's a lot
It is a lot.
to think about.
It is. It's a huge concept.
But if that's true, then empathy,
Yeah.
like that takes on a whole new meaning, right?
Totally.
Because hurting someone is basically hurting yourself.
Exactly.
And kindness,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
that becomes self-love, but on this Like universal scale.
Exactly. It's not just this like far out idea, it's making us rethink how we see each other, right? Like if
Yeah.
we really understood this, wouldn't it change how we treat each
It
other?
would have to.
It'd be huge.
But I mean, if we're all connected,
Yeah.
doesn't that mean we've all done some pretty terrible things?
Yeah, that's the other side of it. Like throughout history.
It's there, yeah. The story doesn't shy away from that.
So good and evil,
Hmm.
not so black and white anymore.
It gets blurry.
Yeah.
Because if we've all been both, how can we judge?
It's a tough question.
It is.
So where does that leave us? We're all part of one giant soul. We keep getting reborn to become like God, right? How do we get there?
Well, the story uses this metaphor, right? It says the universe is like an egg,
Okay.
and the soul, it's inside growing and developing through all these lives.
So we're all like incubating.
Yeah, we're all getting ready for something bigger.
But what happens when we hatch?
Yeah.
Like,
What does it mean for this soul to, like, reach its full potential?
that's the mystery Weir leaves us hanging.
He doesn't give us the answer.
Nope. Which I think is brilliant because it makes you think, right?
Yeah.
It lets each reader come to their own conclusions.
He's like, here's some crazy ideas. Have fun with them.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so compelling, you know?
Yeah.
It sparks your imagination, makes you question everything, and leaves you with this feeling of like
Wonder.
wonder, yeah, and possibility.
We're back. And wow, this conversation has really got me thinking. The egg, it's one of those stories that just sticks with you.
Yeah, definitely a mind bender.
It really is.
Thinks you think.
And one of the things that I keep coming back to is like how it messes with your idea of time.
Oh, yeah, time gets warped in this story.
Totally. Like God explains that our whole like linear view of time, past, present, future,
Yeah,
it's just a human thing.
very limited perspective.
Yeah, like from the universe's point of view, time is something completely different, something we can't even imagine.
Right, it's like trying to explain the ocean to someone who's never seen it.
Oh, I like that.
You can use all the words, but they won't really get it until they experience it.
So if time isn't what we think it is, does that mean like death isn't either?
That's a big question, and the story leaves it open, you know, for us to think about.
Yeah.
But it definitely suggests that death, just like time, it's part of something much bigger.
Something we can't quite grasp.
Exactly, we're like looking at a tiny piece of a giant puzzle.
Yeah, we see the pieces, but we don't have the whole picture.
And that's what makes the egg so powerful, I think.
It doesn't try to give us all the answers.
It just shows us the mystery and says, hey, there's so much we don't know.
So how do we live with that?
Right, like knowing that we might be part of this universal soul experiencing time and death in ways we can't even fathom.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is, but for me, the biggest takeaway is empathy, compassion.
Because we're all connected.
Exactly. If every action, every thought, it all impacts this like giant web of existence.
It's like what goes around comes around.
But on a cosmic scale, right?
It makes you think twice about how you treat people.
It does, because we're all in this together, sharing this incredible journey.
Might as well make it a good one, right?
Absolutely. Leave the universe a little better than we found it.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the egg by Andy Weir.
A story that really makes you question everything.
It expands your mind, makes you think about your place in the universe, and leaves you feeling, well, I don't know, hopeful.
Hopeful, yeah, and maybe a little bit humbled.
Humble, definitely. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And if you did, please subscribe, leave us a comment, and share it with your friends.
We love hearing from you.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic. But until then, keep diving deep and keep asking those big questions.